Hi, welcome to SportX, where we talk all things relating to the ever evolving business of sport and the people that make things happen in this vibrant industry. I'm Trevor Davids, founder of TalkX, where we host SportX as a content channel. And today I'm joined by Chris Heaton, founder and managing director of Skrmiish, a global gaming portal. Welcome to SportX and our segment, What I Do in Sport. And could you start off by describing as to what is it that you do in the sports and the gaming industry?
Okay, it's good to connect again. Thanks for having me. As you're aware, I was in the sports industry for many years with my agency Brand Inc. And then in 2018, for my sins, decided to exit that business and jump straight into tech startup, which has been was pretty gutsy back then, and has been a hell of a learning curve for me over the last 5 years. But we've done some really amazing things, and it's awesome to be where we are right now. As tough as that place is. So just a little bit about like Skrmiish. The idea actually spawned out of what I was doing at Brand Inc. many years ago. We were creating some content for SA Rugby and Curry Cup with some of their new sponsors there. And I met my co-founder, Roland Reed, during creating content. He comes from a production background. And he's the avid gamer in the team. And we were having a beer after one of the shoot days up in Johannesburg. And he started to talk to me about, his other interests in life. And gaming was a big part of that. And, had I ever considered applying our creative application like we do in traditional sports, the rugby and soccer, etc., into the gaming industry or esports. And back then I hadn't, but I was fully aware of the excitement around this industry, and how I think the main thing was about how much money was moving from my personal bank account to my son's bank account to Epic Games to Fortnite for skins and dance moves. And that if there was a way for me to conceptualize something to get some of that cash back, then let's do it. And and that kind of brought me on this journey, right, to where I am now. And that was the thinking there was initially how we could commercialize opportunities in this esports or gaming environment in South Africa. And I took a very close, hard look at esports industry South Africa, if you can call it that at the moment. And even I created a business called Esports Industry, and the idea there was to literally carbon copy what sports industry was. So, a collaboration approach to market, a content portal to create engagement and see and unearth opportunities and success stories. And then to celebrate those individuals or organizations in the space by running sort of award ceremonies and so on, like what sports industry would do. And after a significant amount of spending time researching that sports industry business, and also looking around this local industry and engaging with players and organizations here. In all fairness, it's still in its infancy here in South Africa. There's lots of guys playing games online and so on, and that market is growing quite rapidly. And there's a lot of spending power that's taking place. But there was less than a handful of what I would deem to be success stories, and ones that could be really well commercialized. And I think you're probably aware of how difficult it is to run events, how getting sponsors, commercializing sports properties, and so on. When you're in very early stage of this piece of business, and there was also a significant amount of reluctance from the industry itself, or players within the industry, to engage with what they would deem to be outsiders coming in to take a piece of their pie or whatever. But they had this mindset of we are. Although we're gamers, we can also be events organizers, commercial agents, and all of these things. And they battled, right? They've been battling for many years. And the likes of Brand Inc. and others that had certain expertise in the space could add a huge amount of value. And I was quite perturbed by this kind of reluctance, not from everyone, but from a big portion of the sort of the bigger personalities within the space. And that's what I said to Ronan, like, I don't think it's going to be very commercially viable for us to throw ourselves into this environment, that we need to think a little bit bigger and smarter, because I think the opportunity here sits from a global point of view. And if we can come up with a good idea and the people that can execute on that idea, then I believe we can build something special. And it was a conversation around the online poker model. And, for my sins, used to play a little bit of online poker back in the day, when you could still do that in South Africa before it got banned. And I was like, is there anything like that for video gamers? Like an inclusive environment for gamers to come and sit and play for cash, right? And, there seem to be a lot of exclusive platforms for the best of the best, the pros, the teams, to go and play for set sort of sponsored tournament amounts, but nothing in a more casual environment. And that was the birth of the Skrmiish idea. And we built that out and built it as a PvP platform initially, and then pivoted into what we call a PVH, or player versus house concept, over the years, and demonstrated significant success doing that. And that's where we sit. So whether you could deem this as being like part of the sports industry, still, I'm not so sure. But the idea grew from like an esports environment, and giving the greater part of the opportunity to earn while they play games, right? And not limiting the earning opportunity in video gaming to the pros or the $1 million streamers, right? We want to democratize the entire gaming industry so that all the money that gets pumped into these games that publish, the games that get published by various development houses and studios, give the users the ability to make some money back, right? And actually create careers out of this gameplay. Gamers spend thousands and thousands and thousands of hours playing games. If you've got kids, I'm sure you know all about what I'm talking about. And there's no financial reward for these guys. They aspire to be great professional gamers or whatever, but the ability to actually earn money playing is like nowhere, right? Unless you are the 0.5% of the global population that plays it professionally, then you have a potential to earn. And that earning opportunity is not a very long life. It doesn't have a long life. So that's where we are. So, creating this earning opportunity for the greater part of the market in a gaming environment.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks for that extensive background as to start out the mid-journey and scaling. And I want to ask a question on scale. So you've mentioned the challenges starting up in a South African ecosystem mindset versus where the world was at that time and still is slightly ahead of us, the curve always. How did you guys navigate that scaling journey, especially from a mindset point of view, if you understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah. I experience it in my field as well. African thinking daily, but there's the world that asks for a different mindset. Can you just tell us how you navigated that?
With a lot of difficulty. I think and probably to my detriment sometimes, I think big and know that, thinking big, you need to spread your wings and get out of your comfort zone and go further than what's like directly in front of you. And the South African market being exactly that. No lack of respect for the local South African industry or whatever, but if we were going to make an incredibly profitable business that was at a global valuation to it, we needed to be thinking in dollars and pounds and euros, right, and not in ZAR. And this and it was right up front when all I had was an idea on a piece of paper, the 40-page business plan that I don't think was worth that much back then, but. It pushed me to look into overseas jurisdictions to set up or establish a business, and starting to learn, like really fast tracking the understanding of the rules and regulatory requirements of trading out of foreign countries, and also the time, energy, and money that it is required to do that and do it properly. We went to Isle of Man to incorporate the business. And that's been also an incredible learning journey for me personally, but also good for the business. but very expensive. But, with always the long-term view of, if you build an asset of value in a country or jurisdiction like that, the benefit for my shareholders and stakeholders in the long term is going to be great. And that was always the mindset. And, when we've engaged with venture capitalist firms around the world, that's one of the things they look at, is that, a big picture thinking approach from founders, that they're not scared of the big wide world, because that's where, you can really untap immense amount of value. So it showed a level of professionalism in what we were doing as founders in building this business. So I think, to your question, like, it was difficult to navigate. I met some really incredible people along this journey that have helped. But, I had to skill myself up in understanding things. And, my first visit to the Isle of Man, I met with, a company that does, structuring of these kinds of businesses. I met with multiple banks. I met with people that have been servicing the gaming and gambling industry for many, many years. I got a chance meeting with the regulatory there face to face. That's the other thing, to phone up the regulator of the Gaming or Gambling Commission and say, can I come and have a cup of tea? That doesn't happen, anywhere, right? But in Isle of Man, I managed to get that right through a connection of a connection. And, that was, I tapped my network, and that network gave me introductions to really good people that helped me on this journey, and, accelerated my learning, and making sure that if we were going to do this, we were going to do it right.
Yeah, no, great stuff. And I'm sure the book will reveal all the pitfalls you face during that journey. But scale is something that I like to propagate with South African people, startups. I'm saying that in America, a kid starts a business and you ask him, why did you start the business? He says, in 10 years' time, I want to sell it. In South Africa, we say, I start a business so that my kids can take it over. Different mindset. So in your experience as a marketer, a sports marketer in the main for more than close to 20 years, and now transitioning to the gaming or the esports world, what learnings in the sports marketing world could you take with you whilst building and scaling this new venture?
Yeah, so look, the thing about scale is, that's, and it goes back to what I said in my previous piece, was that, there's a big wide world out there with billions of people, right? And, tapping a much bigger market or audience, whether it's with traditional sport or online sport or whatever, you've got to think big in that regard, and you can't be fearful of it, because fear will hold you back from success on multiple levels. And and like going back to that conversation with Roland, like, looking at local market and the challenges that were going to come with that, and commercializing that opportunity were great. But the challenges of commercializing a much bigger market on a global scale were far more enticing for us to look to try and conquer, right, than thinking small. You need to think big. And thinking big from building big business and acquiring lots of customers that build scale in your business and scales revenues accordingly, right? Look at the global soccer, soccer teams like, Man United, Liverpool, Real Madrid, right? They look at a global audience. They're not so centered just on the people within their country, and rightly so. Like, the commercial opportunities gained by looking at global audiences is huge, and that's why those businesses are worth billions and billions of dollars. And that's, it's just this mindset of thinking big and build businesses that can scale. And when it comes to getting financial support from investors on various levels, they all look at the same thing, right? Is this a scale? Is this market big enough? And is this a scalable opportunity that can derive significant revenues and become an incredibly big and valuable business? Because that's what they want to put their money into. If all of those, you tick all of those boxes, then, and you're a good team, they're gonna back you with some cash as a punt to see if they can, 10x, 100x that initial investment.
No, great, yeah. So when you started the venture, I believe it was the first mobile type of app in the whole ecosystem, and that kind of tells me that you and your partner's thinking was a bit ahead of the time. Even if in 2017 you became the only mobile app of the sort. And yeah, could you perhaps elaborate on that, and also how do you stay ahead of the curve?
So look, it's pioneering technology. You know, the idea of player versus player wagering is not something new. It's actually been around for a good, 10 years at least. But a lot of people have tried to do it and to get it right and have failed. Yeah, it was just, I guess it's a little bit of timing, and a lot of the reasons why they were failing back then, there are some reasons why it still fails today. But, it was also timing of technology and the ability to do certain things, right? Whether it's the integrating with game or having access to data that allows you to price players. So like a sports book, right? In the gaming world, the data is very, very rich, right? If you're in the traditional sports betting world, you don't know a lot of data when someone signs up to place a bet on Betway as an example, right? They know that, Gerrit, you live in the Western Cape potentially, and you've placed a bet on the Springboks, and maybe it's because you like the Springboks. I think they're a good team, and you must be a rugby fan. That's pretty much all they know about you, maybe a couple of contact details. But as you place more and more bets on that platform, they start to build a profile around you, and they get to understand you more, and they'll use those data points to be able to push more betting or gambling opportunities towards you, right? And what you like and what you don't like. And again, and to price, they can't give you individual pricing. They can only price you based on the performance of the team at that moment in time and what the potential conditions are. In an esports environment, we get access to a lot of rich data, right? Or gaming environment, because you're connecting with the gamer's account. You know how many hours that guy has played in that specific game, how many kills he's had, how many times he's won, how many times he's lost, and we can use that data to price these guys accordingly. So that's a big piece of like where we were going with this technology, was could we create individual pricing focused on the gamer, and by doing that, giving them the opportunity to earn playing games, right? So it's not necessarily me challenging you to a match, and I have to rely on this matchmaking ability of this platform, which is new to market, that I may not necessarily have a lot of trust in, that it's matching me with a person of equal skill level, that you and I will have a fair chance of winning a prize that we've now put money on the line for, right? And also this gambling or gaming mindset, betting mindset is not natural to this industry. So we needed to create something that was very unique, that could enable this thing to take place. And that was, what we wanted to achieve. And we got together with certain partners in the industry that helped us on this journey to get there. We were pioneering it, but we weren't the only ones in market doing this. So we saw a lot of PvP, or guys that were trying to do PvP. So a company in the US, been around for some time, called Players Lounge. Funny enough, they've pivoted to this PVH thing that quite soon after we launched it into market, whether that was because they saw us doing it, or they'd kind of gone through this natural progression of seeing that PvP doesn't necessarily work unless you've got millions and millions of players all on the platform at the same time, and you've gained a significant amount of trust in them. But there was also a company in Germany called Gaming Stars, who was doing exactly the same. And funny enough, and I met with Artem, the founder and CEO of Gaming Stars in Germany, just this last month. We had a beer and a schnitzel together on the banks of the river in Berlin. And our journeys have been almost identical, right? He was a poker player, came up with the idea of this inclusive environment, built out a PvP system and free tournaments. We did exactly the same. I think we were probably about 7 or 8 months behind him in the journey. And he saw exactly the same things that we saw, as PvP doesn't work unless you've got this massive amount of player liquidity. So how do you remove this need for the player on the other side? And he went this PVH route. And we were both actually using the same market maker or sportsbook provider that were providing the technology, right? And we were going against each other. And it was a fantastic conversation to have, because you don't get opportunities like that to sit with a direct competitor, talk about your journey in tech startup, both pioneering this new business in market, and trying to stay ahead of the curve and pitch to people why your product is better than theirs and whatever. But actually, the similarities are incredible. Not only in the technology, but the journey of how the businesses have come about and so on. And even his exiting plans are almost identical to what mine are. Right? What we are doing is we believe we're unearthing a new environment of sort of bettors on the planet, where traditional gaming, sports betting, etc. It's a very, very old average age, 50 plus, and the opportunity to tap that Gen X, Ys, and Zs is very, very difficult, and they've not got it right so far. And what we've both built is a product that does exactly that. And his route now is to do a merger or acquisition with the gambling company, and ours is exactly the same. So they could acquire a product that's tapping these markets, plug it into their ecosystem. It gives you mass benefits on both sides of the acquisition piece, from distribution into new territories, as well as money management and acquiring customer funds. Building innovative technology and staying ahead of the curve is flipping difficult. But if you've got a good team, good people, believe in the vision, and you start to see these little success milestones as you go through it, you just got to keep going at it. Keep going. Know that there's going to be other competitors in market, and as long as you just stay focused on what you do and make sure that you do it well on a daily basis, you will breed success one way or another. It's how business works.
No, great stuff. Thanks for that insight. And I thought this much, you're using the term exiting. That was part of the thinking, the long-term thinking with this venture. So in short, looking back at your career, both as a sports marketer, then venturing into this environment of esports or gaming, what is the one piece of advice you would give to someone just starting out in any sector, particularly in this sector, as a startup? And do you believe in mentorship, and did you have mentors?
Okay, so let's answer that last piece first, and then I'll get to the piece of advice. So I didn't have any major mentors in my life, but what I did have was I was very fortunate to meet some really incredible people through my journey. Right, from people that I was friends with from school days, to people that I engaged with in various levels of business, on client side, as well as working with me from a strategic point of view, a design point of view. So many different skill sets, so many wonderful people, and there's no doubt that each and every one of these people have had a positive impact on my life in some way, and have mentored me in directions that I never expected them to, or never was paying close enough attention to say this person's mentoring, but rather I'm spending time with this person. He's doing things a certain way that I don't have the skill sets to do, and I'm learning from that experience, right? And I guess that's a form of mentorship. I've grown to be the person that I am now, not because of specifically who I am, but rather the people that I've surrounded myself with through the years. And that's a very important lesson for anyone starting out in business, that this shit is not easy, right? And a lot of startup businesses in all industries are literally on that fine line of absolute failure or incredible success almost every day of their existence. And that's something that young entrepreneurs or anyone starting out, they've got to come to terms with, right? You're going to have incredibly thick skin and be incredibly resilient to all the challenges that life and business is going to throw at you, because you never know what's around the corner. But if you are resilient and persevere enough and believe in yourself and your ability to do great things, it will come. It will come. You will fail. There's no doubt about it. You will fail, and numerous times, right? And as long as you can pick yourself up after that and carry on and find a way, find a solution, always be solutions orientated, you will show incredible success. And don't attach incredible success to material financial things. That was a young me that did that. And I think in the last 15 years, I've matured incredibly about what I deem to be important in life, and also what I deem to be a success, right? It's not about what's in the bank, because generally there's nothing so, after all your monthly expenses. But the life benefits you have on a day-to-day basis, doing great things, going to great places, meeting great people, things that not your normal human being can do. And as tough as things have been through the years in building businesses, the good times have been incredibly good. And I reflect a lot. I take the time to reflect a lot. This is the wise man coming through now. I make sure I take the time to reflect on these important moments, because it's important. It's important that you do that for your own benefit, right? That's all the slug to get there is worthwhile. And you can see even these little moments of beauty that's, what you've done and what you've put in has gotten you to that point. And I'll give you a couple of examples of stuff where I've had these moments of reflection recently. One was sitting in a coffee shop, eating a beautiful croissant and having a lovely coffee in the middle of Berlin last year by myself. Just a moment of reflection of, you watch these people going about their daily lives in this beautiful environment on the other side of the world, in a different hemisphere, and what got me to get to be doing that, right? Or sitting, funny enough, it was Berlin again. It's a pity I didn't have another example, but sitting on the banks of the river in Berlin, having a beer and a liter jug of beer and a schnitzel with my direct competitor in market and shooting the breeze and seeing and learning about, his life and how similar we are as people and as businessmen, and how we've hustled our way through to do what we do, right? Also, a moment of reflection. Like you don't get those kinds of opportunities in life. You create those opportunities, and it's important that you take those moments to reflect and to appreciate.
No, great stuff. Thanks, Chris. I think that's where we need to wrap it up. That was Chris Heaton, founder and managing director at Skrmiish. Thank you for your time and insights, which is very much appreciated. That's where we will leave it for now. And thank you for watching What I Do in Sport on the SportX channel, which is hosted on TalkX TV. Until next time.